Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we have a lot to talk about on Bitcoin because as you guys probably already know, Bitcoin has rallied above $14,000 a second consecutive time in the last week or so. And in fact, that's not the only piece of news we need to talk about today because we also need to talk about the elephant in the room, Bitcoin staying above $10,000 for over 100 days in its entire history now. I mean, there's an election going on and everything, but that's not the elephant in the room. Just kidding. We're going to get to that later. I'm going to talk about how that will be affecting Bitcoin. Before I do, though, we need to talk about the hourly chart here on Bitcoin, guys. We are setting higher highs and higher lows. What does this mean for Bitcoin? Where are we heading from here? Are we about to see another massive break to the upside, or are we going to see a flash crash moving down? We got some popular tweets and not so popular votes and much more to discuss in today's video. One thing I do want to mention is that if you sign up for Bybit with the link in the description down below and use WIN $500, you can get up to $500 for your Bitcoin deposit over on Bybit. Sign up with the link in the description down below to help out this channel and get started trading in what I think is going to be a very lucrative market in the next couple of weeks. But without much further ado, guys, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. This tweet right here, price of Bitcoin in the last 3 presidential elections, $10, $700, $13,800. 2024, priceless. That's hilarious. I don't know about you guys. I stayed up until about midnight 30 watching the election last night, and then I found out that it wasn't going to be called until, you know, probably 2 or 3 weeks later. This is looking like a 2000 style race, except this time it's not Florida, it's Michigan. But we're not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk Bitcoin because, guys, as I just showed you, Bitcoin has been rallying exponentially as shown on that tweet over the presidential elections. I remember in 2016 when the election happened, I'd never even heard of Bitcoin, and now I'm a YouTuber talking about it every day. Oh, how the tides turn and the things change. Guys, I genuinely and strongly believe that by the next election, Bitcoin will be trading at over $100,000. So let's go ahead and talk about that. I want to start off with this Cointelegraph article. Bitcoin sees record 100 days above $10,000. Bitcoin has now officially beaten a new record as Bitcoin USD trades above $10,000 for 100 days, and major gains should come next. As voting in the US presidential election ended on November the 3rd, Bitcoin saw a landmark movement of its own, 100 straight days trading in 5 figures. And guys, that's not the only impressive thing about Bitcoin because as you can see, Bitcoin actually broke $14,000 a second time yesterday. We had a level here at about $13,800.50 where Bitcoin had rallied to during the previous bull market. Obviously, we ran out of steam and pulled back. This time, this market really looks like it's just getting started and we are pushing even higher. As we can see, if we zoom in on the wick here, Bitcoin rallied to $14,088 yesterday, the second time that we've put a chink in 14K. And the third time we put a chink in the armor that was set in June of last year. Moving down to the hourly chart, we can also see that Bitcoin is setting some consistent higher highs and Bitcoin is setting some consistent higher lows. We were in a broadening trading channel a few days ago, but now we're actually in a normal trading channel. These two trend lines are roughly on the same angle and they are roughly the same distance apart. Bitcoin has set a new high on candle bodies, both on the hourly chart, the 4-hourly chart, and the daily chart as of yesterday. And about 24 to 48 hours ago, Bitcoin put a strong double bottom in here, and then we put a third bottom in much higher than the previous two earlier this morning. On 4-hourly chart, we also bounced right around the 4-hourly 20 exponential moving average as we saw back over here and as we saw right here. That's a good sign because we had previously used it as resistance back on November the 2nd, 2 days ago. And funnily enough, even though Bitcoin has stopped moving to the upside as quickly as it had before, volume has not really dropped off. We're still seeing similar volume, which makes sense because we are in a trading channel. Where does Bitcoin go from here, guys? Well, I'll be honest with you, it could really go either way, and we're going to talk about how the election plays into this in a little while. The one thing that does concern me is the fact that the MACD is starting to converge bearish. I would not really like to see a bearish cross right now when Bitcoin is so close to breaking $14,000. I would personally very much like to see Bitcoin break 14K, rally to the upside, and then start putting new levels of support in above $14,000 and then have a correction. If we're going to have a correction, I'd rather it happen above the resistance level. Let's turn it into support and then keep moving. And to be honest with you guys, it's very possible that Bitcoin does do that. As I said, we've just broken $14,000. Volume's looking healthy. We are seeing Bitcoin search volume on Google Trends start to drop off as that one guy from the comment section of yesterday's video stopped searching for it 35 times every day. He knows who I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, whatever Bitcoin does on the hourly chart or the 4-hourly chart, the long-term technicals are overwhelming. Bitcoin is in a bull market. It's not even up for debate. We've had 5 consecutive weeks of green. And as we talked about earlier, Bitcoin has just seen over 100 days above $10,000. I don't know about you guys, but I remember when $10,000 $14,000 was the all-time high, and now it would be considered a low price for Bitcoin. And guys, this is very clear. $10 in 2012, $700 in 2016, $13,800 in 2020. Where do we go next? Guys, the fact of the matter is there's a very clear trend in the long term on Bitcoin that Bitcoin goes exponential over time, and it's very easy for us on a weekly or a monthly time frame to not realize that that is happening, but the writing on the wall is very clear. I remember when $14,000 was a blip. It came and it went and it was gone, but now it is what Bitcoin normally trades at. This is huge, guys, because adoption behind the scenes is accelerating at a rapid pace. As I said over here on Twitter, everyone's focused on if Trump will win Pennsylvania, at this point is Michigan, when they should be thinking about how both candidates will probably increase deficit spending, allow currency crashing QE to continue, and sacrifice the time-based salability of our currency for short-term economic and political recovery. No matter who wins this election, Bitcoin is going to be victorious. These guys are going to win. One of them, more than likely, unless these recounts like get Joe Jorgensen in office, pretty much one of them is going to win for 4 years. Then it's going to be over for them. The next 4 years are going to be huge for Bitcoin, guys. Look at the last 4 years. Were you even in the space 4 years ago? Tell me in the comment section down below, did you even know what Bitcoin was when Trump was elected the first time? Because I most certainly didn't. I was in high school. 4 years is both an eternity and a very short time frame. And the 4 years that are to come are going to be 4 of the greatest years for Bitcoin, and we're going to see mass adoption during that time. Guys, that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. But before I go, I do want to mention that we're running a giveaway of the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy over on our Instagram. Follow us at CryptoJeb and follow the steps on our latest post, and you will be entered to win a free copy of CT2A. Follow us at CryptoJeb on Instagram. Go do that. We are posting a lot of awesome content over there. We have an amazing artist on staff. She's doing a very good job. Shout out to Gia. We're working very hard to grow our Instagram, guys, so make sure to follow that. Before I go, I do want to mention that the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy is also on sale. If you use the coupon code November 2020, you're going to get $40 off at checkout on the academy that has helped thousands of people learn how to trade and profit in these markets. At the end of the day, guys, there is no greater investment than an investment in your education. It is extremely important that you invest in your understanding of the cryptocurrency space. If you don't do that, I promise you, you will regret it. You need to understand how these markets work. CT2A walks you through the basics, the more advanced concepts, and everything you need to know from your intuition and how that plays into your trading. Have you ever been in a trade and you just feel like something is going to happen in the market based on your experience? It's not emotion, it's your experience talking to you. You need to listen to that. We talk about how technical analysis is a tool for building risk to reward ratios, so we talk about those risk to reward ratios, and we talk about how you can actually plan a trade with your stop losses, with your exits, with your entries. We talk about the differences between bull markets and bear markets. We talk about short-term and long-term trading, trading versus investing. We talk about things like the 20 exponential moving average and a whole lot more. If you'd like to see what our videos are like, you can follow the link in the description down below to watch a preview of a few of them. I highly encourage you guys to invest in your education. It is the greatest investment you will ever make. Sign up with the link in the description down below today. That sale does end on Friday. Anyway, guys, there's one thing I want to talk about before I wrap out here, and that actually has to do with the election. No, I'm not going to be telling you who I voted for. I did vote. But what I will say is that one of the problems in America and with much of the first world right now in the 21st century is that we focus too much on what divides us. We focus on what we all disagree on when, in fact, you and your arch enemy across the street who, oh God, voted for the other guy, both of you probably agree on a lot more than you think. This is actually a concept that was discussed in the early church in Christianity. It's called the narcissism of small differences. The early church agreed on most everything that Jesus taught, but they also disagreed on very few things. But the things that they disagreed on, they went to war over. They got so upset at each other over the small differences that they had. And people don't see that the narcissism of small differences is exactly what's happening in the 21st century. We're so upset at each other over small differences. And don't get me wrong, there's reason to be upset about the way things are going in the world. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of everything that's happening in politics, but I'm not a political channel, so we're not going to get into that. The point is, we get divided very easily, even though if you were to sit down and think about it, you probably agree with your neighbor on a lot of things. You probably agree that you want to see the world a better place for your children than it was for you. You probably agree that education is important. You probably agree that having roads is important. You probably agree that equality is important. You probably agree on a lot of things. You might disagree on 3 issues, but if you think about it, the things that aren't political are the things that you agree on. And if you take out politics, you could probably be pretty good friends with that guy across the street, even though you voted differently than him. And funnily enough, I actually want to tie this into Bitcoin, because even though people watching this video voted for Biden, voted for Trump, voted for Joe Jorgensen, voted for some of the other political parties, or you don't live in America, or you didn't vote at all, or you voted for yourself because you just don't want to be part of the two-party system, whoever you voted for, I have a feeling everyone watching this video is using their money to make one vote exactly the same way, because I have a feeling all of you guys are voting for Bitcoin. Guys, instead of spending the rest of the next 3 or 4 days, the time it takes to figure out who wins this election, let's spend those 3 or 4 days not fighting each other over who we'd like to see in office. Let's spend the next 3 or 4 days thinking about, no matter which one of those guys gets into office, it's probably going to be a good thing for Bitcoin, because no matter what either one of them do, the currency that is the United States dollar and many of the other fiat currencies in the world today are more than likely going to fail in the next 30 or 40 years because of government policy, because we went off the gold standard in the early 20th century, and because short-term attempts to save the economy and get your own party into office by pandering to your base is what is destroying our currencies and what will rob our children of their own wealth, because they held it in the fiat currencies of this world. That is the biggest threat that we have today. So instead of focusing on what we all disagree on, let's be united in our investment in Bitcoin. Guys, I'm very excited to see where Bitcoin is in 2024 when the next guy, or maybe gal, gets elected. I'm curious to see what you think Bitcoin will be trading at when that time comes. Guys, that's going to wrap it out for today's video. No matter who wins, I'm just happy to see the democratic process working, and that's the only thing I'll say on that. Not getting any more. Everybody wants to try and guess who I voted for. You ain't gonna find out. I'm not gonna tell you. And don't try and read into anything I said either, because I didn't give you any hints. Guys, that is going to wrap it out for today's video. Follow us on Instagram at CryptoJed. We're trying to grow that pretty aggressively. But before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.